Welcome, folks, to another episode of the Matias Sports Podcast. Again, I have another great guest. It's New England Patriots radio play-by-play on 98.5, Bob Socci. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Ken. Good to be with you. Thanks for having
Appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. No, I appreciate you doing this. So I want to deep dive right into the Patriots. I know I just spoke to John Lyons last week. I had him as my last episode, so him and I were discussing a little bit of breaking delayed news. Obviously, it broke earlier. July Tavai. I think I just seen that Mike Reese, he was tweeting it. So it was like a 3 year, up to 21 million that he can make, but it's 15 million guaranteed.
Yeah, I saw that as well. He is, signed his second contract now since becoming a Patriot, and he's been a player that has done a great job in whatever role they've put him in. I think a pleasant surprise in a lot of ways. He was a fairly high draft pick, obviously, before he got to New England. It
Hmm.
didn't work out in his previous stop in Detroit, but like Kyle Van Noy, who had a similar path to the Patriots, it's worked out well for Jelani. I think he's a guy that's very versatile, certainly a key piece on that defense, and another player who they've re-signed or signed to an extension this offseason. If you go back, of course, to the first of those such signings, when you think about some of the players they kept in house, like free agent to be Michael Wenu, Hunter Henry,
Hmm.
down the line, Josh Uche, Christian Barmore signs a new deal, Ramondre Stevenson gets a new deal. And I think it's a real positive step for a team that had gone through a prolonged period where very few players who'd been drafted and developed, the players they were hitting on were re-signing to second or third contracts. In the case of Tavai, obviously they didn't draft him, but nonetheless, they really, I think, developed him since he came here into a more expansive role.
Yeah, no, it's you make good points there. Obviously, you alluded to Henry Stevenson, Tavai, Micah Wenu. We're not used to seeing this in New England because, under the Bill Belichick regime, like after their rookie contract, they go get paid somewhere else. I mean,
Well, yeah, in recent years, I have to
mm,
say, if you go back to the 2000s and the
mm,
2010s, there were a lot of key players that were signed to that second, third
mm,
contract. And then eventually you started to see those numbers decrease. And now I think it's been an emphasis, and they said it would be an emphasis from Gerard Mayo and Elliot Wolf, head coach and executive VP player personnel, that it's in their minds imperative to draft and develop players. That's their philosophy,
mm.
and I think that they have shown now this willingness to keep people around. I think it's a great thing for young players. And to your point about Bill, I think it was really magnified when Jacoby Myers left, the guy that really developed into a reliable receiver for them,
Mm.
and then left, of course, when Juju Smith-Schuster was brought in, and albeit in an injury-plagued year, it just didn't work out for him here. While Jacoby had a very good season with the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely Mac Jones's one of favorite targets, coming in, I should say, one of his favorite targets when he came in 2021. Obviously, they moved on from Mac, trading him to the Jaguars. But yeah, hopping around, I definitely want to stick with the guys that they re-signed. What really stands out to you between Hunter Henry, Stevenson, Micah Wenu? Obviously, Tavai was just the news today, and it's good that they're keeping Duggar around. So, like,
Yeah,
from the
Connor
guy,
Duggar.
yeah, Duggar's another guy. From the guys I mentioned, what sticks out to you the most that can have the deepest impact at their position, offensive or defensively?
Well, I'd say of those guys
Tough.
you mentioned, I would say of those guys you just mentioned, excluding Jelani Tavai, they're players they had
Hmm.
to keep around. When you talk about tight end, they were bereft of tight ends, and they signed Hunter Henry. That was huge.
Hmm.
At that point, if Hunter Henry were to leave, because we look back at the recent history of the tight end position for this team, which was kind of revolutionary in football with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, and even before that with Benjamin Watson and
Hmm.
Daniel Graham. The Patriots have been a team that was for a long time on the forefront of two tight ends and doing different things with that Joker tight end, for example. They went through a period of a couple of years where they didn't really have any tight ends, 2019, 2020. They brought in Henry and Johnny Smith. One worked out for them, the other did not. And had Hunter gone on to free agency, well, now you look at the depth chart in that moment when free agency opens and there's the cover to spare. They kept him. They kept that from happening. So they've got a tight end. Same thing with those other guys. Ueno, they had to keep him in the fold because they had at the time, again, assuming he were to go elsewhere, they would have had two tackle positions to fill. Well, they keep Michael Ueno, at least they solidify that one spot on the right side, and so on and so forth. And Duggar is another guy, a key piece in their defense. That versatile safety in the box, playing deep, somebody who really is. I think for Drake Maye and DeMarcus Covington, a very important player physically, but as well with his leadership and as well his ability as the quarterback of that defense from the secondary. They had to have him around. The franchise tag on, and then they sign him and do a new deal. And the same thing certainly with Ramondre, running back. They did bring in some guys this offseason, but productive player running, a good player as a receiver, a guy that they really, I think, are going to need this year, especially if they wind up playing, with Drake Maye at quarterback at some point in time, to still be able to run the ball effectively and set up play action.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you alluded to Ramondre because they added Antonio Gibson from obviously the Commanders. He's a good, he's a good running back. Obviously, I feel like he's more like a pass catch first, I should say. I'm trying to spit it out, sorry. He's kind of like a good complementary, if I can talk, sorry. Sorry about the hiccup there, but he's a good complementary back to Stevenson. Obviously, I feel like they kind of like similar build, similar, I don't know about the run styles, but because, you see these guys probably more often than I do, and obviously going to practices and odds and ends and this and that. But I mean, Zeke was good last year, 2023, to complement Stevenson. What do you think Gibson's going to do with Stevenson and how that's going to be in the workload?
Oh, we'll see. You mentioned that I've been able to watch them a little bit this spring, but really can't tell much, Ken, from watching practices with shorts and no pads.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy.
Certainly, in training camp early on, when they put the pads on eventually, that's what a lot of people would be looking for. We saw Gibson last year when Washington came in. He is a pass catcher first. This is someone who was a receiver in college originally before converting to running back. And he's someone they've needed that. Even with Ramondre and Ezekiel, they didn't have that third down back. They haven't had it since James White. I think it's been a very important piece of the offense that was missing. We'll see how it affects them. This year with Gibson in Alex Van Pelt's office, going to be a bit different. But I still think it's very important. Whether they were running the Josh McDaniels version of the offense, Bill O'Brien version of the offense, always a staple in the lineup. And I think the same will be true for Alex Van Pelt. That third down receiving back in Gibson certainly is the leader there when you look at right now the depth chart and projecting toward the coming season. There are other guys, Kevin Harris, DeMichael Hasty, other players that are around that I think we'll see in training camp and then in the preseason that have a shot. But to me, I think with the Patriots where they are, had they not made a move to get a guy like Gibson, then they would go into this season saying, Ramondre Stevenson, you've got to catch the ball as well as run it predominantly, just like a couple of years ago, when you seemed to wear it down physically by the end of the year. And I don't think you can do that, certainly in the NFL, particularly at that position. And I think we've seen that over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. You've got to have that guy on third down who can line up in the backfield or flex out against the linebacker, take advantage of that mismatch, and make some plays for you to move the sticks.
Yeah, it was definitely a good signing, obviously, by New England, adding Gibson to the backfield with Stevenson. And it's another good thing that you brought up AVP, Coach Van Pelt. I mean, he's used to having Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. I know he's been, he's bounced across the league with Buffalo, Green Bay. So he's had a lot of good players that he's basically worked with. Rodgers, Chubb, Hunt, like I mentioned. How much of an instant impact are we going to see, like this run first, run heavy offense right out the gate in week 1? Or is it just going to be like a 50-50? Because it all depends because it's a new offense to this team.
Well, we don't know, what the ratio is going to break down. Logic tells you, common sense tells you that they are going to be pretty reliant on the running game and the staples of the offense, the outside zone, running attack, the bootleg action for the quarterback, all those that get the defense going one way and then throw back the other way. Part of that, West Coast
Yep.
style offense that has evolved under Kyle Shanahan and that tree of coaches off his father's coaching tree, including, for example, Sean McVay,
Hmm.
Rams, Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins, just to name a couple of others. Alex Van Pelt, this guy's been around a lot of different teams, as you mentioned, Ken, in different offenses. But it certainly seems the signs are there. That's what they're going to do, is try to run that offense, that West Coast offense. It's going to be a different look. But it really is relying, I think, on the run game first, particularly when you're talking about either Jacoby Brissett, but especially Drake Maye, a rookie quarterback. Is particularly if you don't have a lot of confidence, and who knows what's going to happen with the tackle position. But right
Hmm.
now, I think it's hard to say there's much confidence for observers on the outside in the Patriots' left tackle spot. It could be Chuka Okorafor.
Hmm.
It could be somebody else right now that is on that depth chart who beats him out at some point. It doesn't look like Caden Wallace, the rookie out of Penn State, is destined to be the left tackle anytime soon. That's a real project if it happens, and some anticipated after the draft. So you're talking about the future of your franchise, your quarterback, trying to protect him, and that's not only by blocking for him and passing downs, but it's also by having an effective run game and
Hmm.
setting up play action. And the play action component of it is a huge part of the offense that Van Pelt will be running.
Yeah, especially, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Drake Maye? Is he going to start week 1? Is he going to start week 10? Who knows? Obviously, we assume that it's going to be Brissett week 1, but the little that you've seen him in like spring practice, OTAs, rookie camp, how does he look? How do the rookies look, including Polk, Baker, May? Like, I know, like you said, it's only in shorts, it's not in pads. We're like 2, 3 weeks away from pads when training camp opens up to the public and the media. What have you seen so far in the past 3 months since they gotten drafted? Obviously, it's still
Yeah,
early in their career.
let's start with the quarterbacks. I mean, Drake Maye is a pretty impressive physical specimen. So is Joe Milton, the
Yeah.
six-round quarterback they took out of Tennessee, more of a project player, and
Hmm.
I think a long shot to make the team. In the case of Maye, though, as advertised, big, athletic, good arm. I thought that the footwork and frankly the delivery looked a lot better at the end of OTAs and minicamp
Hmm.
than what I had read about and heard about and even seen coming out of the draft and going back to his career at North Carolina. They had certainly had a lot of experience talking about Alex Van Pelt and TC McCartney working with different quarterbacks. How many starters did they have last year in Cleveland alone? But it goes
Hmm.
back for Van Pelt to the Mike McCarthy quarterback development program. And that was really, I think, what helped Aaron Rodgers take the great strides he did when he was working his way from backup eventually to the starter, replacing Brett Favre. So they've done, at least Van Pelt has helped develop some quarterbacks, including, you know, one of the preeminent quarterbacks in the game in his generation. And in the case of Maye, the physical goods seem to be there. There's a lot of growing pains and
Hmm.
big steps he's going to have to take. He's going to have to get through. He didn't call plays in the huddle at North Carolina. He rarely was under center. But I think for somebody who came in with his lack of experience, he looks pretty good doing those things. It's going to get better in time. Milton has advertised again, very, very strong arm. I think the accuracy issues and as well the velocity issues on some of the
Yeah.
shorter throws. Um, a work in progress is how I phrase it. I don't at this point assume anything. I think Jacoby Brissett is the guy that they're tentatively planning to be the starting
Hmm.
quarterback in game one. But and again, I was not necessarily someone who really pounded the drum or the desk for Drake Maye like some around here did. A lot of media who invested a lot more time in the draft run up than I did this year. Were really high on Drake Maye, and some of those people have been outspoken in terms of their confidence that he could be the Patriots' day one starter. I'm not saying that, but I wouldn't
Hmm.
be surprised if he starts a lot sooner than many of us, including myself, expected when he was taken by the Patriots third overall.
Yeah, I mean, May, like you said, he's got a strong arm. I didn't realize he didn't call plays while at UNC. Obviously, that's an adjustment period because it's going to be what Van Pelt just calling the shots, right? Obviously, from Mayo to Van Pelt is just going to be calling the shots. Whoever's going to
Yeah,
be,
and there's so much verbiage involved now in
yeah.
play call, and it's a thing too. I think that that is easily overlooked. But a lot of these college kids today in their offenses, they don't call plays. It's the same
Hmm.
thing with Jimmy Garoppolo when he came to the Patriots. Then in that the air raid offense under Dino Babers at Eastern Illinois, and other young quarterbacks. Now Mac Jones played in a different kind of offense at Alabama. It was more influenced by the pro
Hmm.
game, including experience under two NFL coordinators. In the case of May, just stepping into the huddle and getting the play from Van Pelt, communicating it to everyone, doing it with confidence, being able to get to the line and make any adjustments that are necessary. There's a huge learning curve there.
Oh, for sure.
And it may not sound like much in terms of just speaking the play, but if you go back to the QB school, if you watch the series that used to be on ESPN when John
Was that
Gruden
with John Gruden? Yeah, yeah, yeah. With the draft
that was,
prospects.
and he would
Hmm.
ask them to call off the play. Well, teams want to see that. They want to hear the quarterback get on the whiteboard and diagram a play, and know
Hmm.
what he has to do, what his responsibilities, what his reads are on a particular play. But also part of it is how does he command the language and communicate that to his teammates in that huddle? Because there's a lot to it, and everybody's got to be on the same page, going in the same direction.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, the college game's totally different from the NFL. I've never played a lick of football in my life. I wish I did, but
You
I
and me
give
both. I play a little.
I give credit to a lot of people, that play the game well. And obviously, alluding to May, he seems confident. Seems like New England is where he wanted to be. Personally, I didn't know too much about him heading into the draft. I was hearing about it from people, guys I work with. Hey, like May's the guy. I'm like, I want that Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels. I want that running quarterback that obviously they got a short lifespan, but obviously Vic, he's one of a kind. He was out of the league for some legal issues, obviously, but he came back and it was like a resurgent for him. So, and dating back to the Randall Cunningham days too. So, and Moon and all them. But I
Yeah, I
like
don't.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't think you're going to
No,
get
no,
Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick, but I think you are going to get somebody who's going to be able to make plays off platform. He's a good.
yeah.
I don't think they want him to run a lot, but he has the capability. But what they want is a guy who can throw on the move, and I think
Hmm.
that's one of the things about the quarterbacks today. When you talk about athletic quarterback and quarterbacks who can make plays with their legs, again, so much of what they're going to do is going to be coming off the play action fake with bootleg rollout action, and he's going to have that ability, I think, to be able to make some plays with his legs pretty consistently. I don't think they're going to run read option with him,
Yeah.
way some teams do. We're not going to see Lamar Jackson out there for the Patriots. We're going to see a guy though that can make plays with his legs, but also make plays with his arm. More importantly, in my opinion, by using his legs, or at least being able to get his legs under him on the move to make plays.
See, you mentioned the platform. Can you elaborate for me and the audience out there? That was really key this quarterback class or like heading into the draft. All I kept hearing was platform, platform, platform. So,
But really, what that's about, or what it points to, Ken, and it's there's a lot of verbiage that gets used in sports.
mhm.
I remember when we'd say that a pitcher in baseball could throw hard, and then it became velocity, and then
Yep,
it
yep,
became feel. Now you get swing and miss rates or
yep.
whatever it might be, the metric
The analytics of the game.
analytics of the game. Or even like I say, just the vocabulary of the game. And I think like with platform off platform, to me, what it's important to understand is you're talking about the difference between someone who makes plays from the pocket and really only from the pocket,
Hmm.
has to be able to drop back and throw in timing and rhythm, or drop back and be able to survey the field and throw the ball. Someone who throws off platform is the guy that, okay, he drops back to break down around him. I've got to escape now. I got to get outside the pocket. And as he's doing that, oh, there's a receiver down there. I don't have time to square my shoulders
Hmm.
necessarily in the way that I would if I were dropping back in the pocket. But I can make a throw and get the ball there accurately on time and with the arm strength to complete the pass, make a play on the move. That's to me what really is important to understand when you hear that expression used. It's about somebody I think that can make things happen with his legs and his arm in concert when things are breaking down around him and there's pressure on the quarterback. What you see more and more. I mean, that's Mahomes. And Mahomes will run occasionally a cold run play. He'll run and pick up huge first downs. He's had so many backbreaking plays that I've watched over the last few years
Yep.
with his legs running. But really, what he does is dangerous. He gets out, break down. It's hard to cover players for the length of the plays. The quarterback's able to extend the play, which is part of that. And now he's able to make something happen. It's unscripted because it wasn't exactly how the play was brought up. It wasn't the play call, but it's the extension of that play call. And again, it's he's on the move, and everybody out there is adjusting.
Yeah, no, that's good that you elaborated that. Thank you. So I got a better understanding. But I did mention the wide receivers too. What do you think of Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, even though it's still kind of early and it's only in shorts up until 2, 3 weeks when they start doing pads eventually?
Well, I'm impressed with Polk in terms of the ability, the strength that he has. Made a great play to close out the mini camp. He's certainly, looks like a guy that has, again, we were told and heard about someone who has a could be a physical player as a wide receiver. I don't think exceptionally fast, but good hands. I thought that he started a little bit slow in camp and finished strong. But again, we'll find out more when there's contact defensive backs or able to put their hands on him. Baker, to me, was somebody that stood out a bit early in camp. The problem is, though, by mini camp, when I say early in camp, I mean OTAs. The problem is by mini camp, the last couple of days of practices, he wasn't catching balls. I'm going to guess that he's dealing with something probably upper body, shoulder related. He didn't have his hands taped or anything like that. But he was running the drills, and then he was catching balls. But a lot of what they did early on, I thought of the OTAs, was very elementary again, trying to get the footwork down.
Mm-hmm.
The finer points of routing, getting out into the pass pattern, how to run your route so that it's efficient and that you get to the spot where you need to be on time. And I thought that both young players made strides in that area. I think actually the Patriots wide receiver group, just to comment on everybody, I don't think that this is the fleetest group of wide receivers in the league, the most dangerous group of wide receivers in the league. But I think they're potentially a lot better than many people, including myself, at the end of last year, and even after the offseason, think that they can be. I think KJ Osborne's a nice player. I think it's going to be a very competitive position. Juju Smith-Schuster, I thought, had some really good days in the OTAs. And I'm talking about how he moved, how he run. And you could certainly see he did seem to be moving, a lot more like the guy that was with Pittsburgh and Kansas City healthy than what we saw last year. And he says, last year he played injured the whole year, and coming off that knee surgery that he had that kept him out of the spring, his first spring as a Patriot, and a part of his first preseason. And I just use him as an example. Tyquan Thornton looks bigger and stronger. I think he's going to be in a battle toward the end of that receiver roster as well, that receiver depth chart as well. So I think it's going to be a really interesting position to watch. Tomorrow, Douglas looks as quick as ever. Looks like he's in great shape. We haven't seen Kendrick Bourne yet because he's still been rehabbing from the surgery. So I think actually if the room is going to be better if they're healthy, which is always the if in football, than a lot of people would expect.
Yeah, it's a good thing you brought up Pop. I mean, obviously, he was showing a lot of great improvements his rookie year last year, right? That was his first year in the league. So obviously, it's good to see from one year to the next, see how productive he gets, and he's a good slot receiver, obviously. And I mean, Kenny Bourne, has he even been attending camp at all, or he's just been kind of just rehabbing?
He's been rehabbing. Yeah, he's someone who's been working his way back. I think the signs are encouraging from what we've seen in and read about. I think Pop Douglas has got to be healthy. We'll see how Bourne does come training camp when we finally
Hmm.
get a chance to watch him run some routes, catch the ball. So I think that both of those players, though, they're counting on to be big contributors this year.
One player you didn't mention that I'm totally not surprised that people don't talk about much, Kayshon Boutte. What's the status with him? Has he been out there in mini camps, OTAs, anything?
Yeah, he's been out there. He's had some moments for sure. Now he's got to me like he's a guy that has a couple questions that are big ones.
Hmm.
One is off field, it's off field situation, and they all have experienced officer, and any ramifications that might have in terms of his college career, whether the NFL
Hmm.
may impose any disciplinary action if he remains with the Patriots because of his
The whole betting
situation
thing going on, yeah.
betting while in college at LSU. But to me, like I think that last year, we saw him struggle at times, not early in the season, especially the season opener, with
That was tough.
in areas that wide receivers, have to be sharpened. Um, and I don't think like there's not one part of his game that really stands out that says, okay, he can be less efficient in his route running than other guys because he has this blazing speed. That doesn't exist. Or he's tremendous hands. He makes a lot of contested catches.
Hmm.
I just haven't seen that. Again, judging from the spring, it's really hard to tell. I think he's in the mix, but I would say, in my opinion, he's probably a longer shot to make it as that last receiver in the stable of wide receivers than, say, even a Juju or Taekwon Thornton. Juju might be a guy that if he plays well enough, they try to move on from. And may hope that there's a taker for him when you get to the preseason, right before opening day. But I think Bootie's going to have a tough time making. He's going to have to play well.
Yeah, he's more than likely going to start either being released or he's just going to be on the practice squad going to Booty. But good thing you brought up Juju. I feel like he's going to be the bubble player of out of what the 6, 7 wide receivers that they carry, heading into the season. I mean, obviously, I feel like his better years have passed, but let's see what happens.
Ken, too, sticking the wide receiver. I mean, Jalen Rager is a guy that we're not talking a lot about.
True, that's true too. I was thinking about him.
The new kickoff rule is going to present, I think, a real decision for teams
Hmm.
because we're going to see a lot more returns, a
Yep.
lot more returns. And the way it's set up, you break through that first line, it's going to be very difficult to bring it up.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of big plays in kickoff returns. And he showed us obviously last year. Yeah, it was a brief flash in that game against Buffalo. He can make some plays back there as a kickoff returner. Last year, going into the season with the new rule, and even in more recent years, a lot of teams really didn't even worry about the position.
Hmm.
They knew they're predominantly going to be touchbacks. We're rarely going to see returns. Now I think with the new rule, it's going to present a dilemma for teams. And you're going to probably see two returners back there on plays and not just one. And so as you're compiling your roster, those last few spots, you got to think about that. And to me, Figure's a guy that can return kicks in the NFL. He's done it, for several different teams, and he's been good at it for two teams of the three that he's played for. So I think you have to consider him. That position of kickoff return, it's got to come from somewhere, and
Hmm.
so that could be another wide receiver that makes the team.
Yeah, and obviously cornerbacks or maybe a safety can be back there too, but it's predominantly basically a wide receiver or running back. But obviously you need those guys to stay healthy too, because they could be the focal point of your offense. But I know we're running low on time. I did want to get to what is the status of Matt Judon and like his contract? Is he's still trying to get one, correct?
Well, I think that's certainly, yeah, the indication. I think there's a couple of guys, certainly Devon Godchaux had a
Hmm.
presence on social media, no guaranteed money due for him. I think Mayo's been honest with us in terms of Judon in particular. He's asked about Judon in one of his last press conferences. Maybe it was his last press conference of minicamp. They're going to have to think, certainly please one of, if not both, or I think one of those two players is going to be a little disgruntled to say the least. So, or at least be unsatisfied. Let's put it that way. So we'll see we'll see what they do. At that position with those two players. But it's especially interesting now considering that they've already extended some guys in the last few weeks, and Lamar Stevenson and Jelani Tavai, as you mentioned at the Open.
Mm-hmm.
Since we heard from Mayo, when he was asked specifically about Judon, and he might have even been asked specifically about Godshaw as well. But Godshaw was, out there on social media, and he certainly made it clear that he wants to be paid.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Judon's probably entering his final year, I'm assuming, and he's a free agent at the end of the season or heading into 2025.
Yeah, and when you look at a guy like that too, he's now entering the end of his contract with Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
He knows his time to get paid in the NFL is starting to wind down at his age, coming off a big injury. So we'll see, what the Patriots and he are able to work out before the preseason. I would think they'll give him a bump and try to make him happy the way they did last year. At least, that's my belief. But we'll find out if they were able to do that. I'm a bit surprised that they haven't been able to do that, honestly, to this point, considering they've gotten deals done with some other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Before, and like I said, I know we're short on time. Christian Gonzalez, what have you seen from him from his recovery from injury from last year? Because I believe it was his shoulder.
Yeah, moving well, Ken. And again, that's another area, and I would say Marcus Jones is in that same boat
Mm-hmm.
where we'll know more when they put pads on and move around. But right now they look good. And I thought that he was a really promising rookie. He came into the league and held his own when he was out there healthy. That was a huge loss for them. I think Marcus Jones is another guy that potentially has an upside for this team. We didn't see a lot of John Jones as well in the OTAs and minicamp. And I think that when we get to the Patriots facility on July 24th to watch them practice for the first time in training camp, that's a position that everybody's going to be watching closely because there's some other guys that I think are going to be worth watching. Alex Austin,
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Bolden, who was injured last year in the preseason.
That was
versus
tough.
Green Bay. Just to name two guys right there. There's some others that are in camp that I think have a shot to have an impact on this team, or at least to be used considerably.
Guy that's probably not talked about. To me, it might be a bubble person. Sean Wade.
Yeah, and Wade's another guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of work with all those players, cross training. I shouldn't say all, but
Mm-hmm.
with many cross training between cornerback and safety.
Oh. Still there, Bob? All right, sorry. The Wi-Fi keeps probably coming in and out a little bit. I apologize on that. Final takeaways as we head into training camp, only 2-3 weeks away, and I know it's still kind of early to put a record on the season because it's still 2 months away.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. They're going to face really good quarterbacks, which is going to test the defense, the strength of the team. Presumed to be one of the best defenses in the league. We're going to find out. Yeah, I'm not going to say at this point, well, they're going to lose to Cincinnati, beat Seattle, win this game, that game. We're so far away.
It is.
Especially when you're talking about the quarterback position. And I think it's kind of a silly exercise after week one.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what happens week 1-2 in the NFL, let alone where we are today in early July. But I'm not looking at wins and losses to be the barometer for the improvement for this team. I think they're going to be better than anticipated. I saw I think it was the report that there were the odds are the Patriots are going to have the number 1 pick next year.
I hope not.
I don't. I mean, I think they might win a couple more games than last year. We don't know, but we just don't know enough, Ken. Got a new head coach, got a new offensive coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
You've got an offensive coordinator who's only called plays on a few occasions. You have a rookie quarterback that you may or may not see on day one. You have huge questions about the offensive line. Will the defense be able to be as good statistically as it's been going up against the quarterbacks they're going to face Burrow. They got a second against, assuming Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Then they go to San Francisco and take on that.
Purdy.
And then
Yeah.
Miami comes in. And then Houston comes in. Yeah,
It's tough.
You're talking about our
It's a gauntlet for sure.
It is, for sure. Absolutely.
But no, I appreciate it, Bob. People, please listen to this man on 98.5. He does a great job, him and Zoe. It's always great to hear you, call the games and stuff like that. And I appreciate it for you being a guest on my podcast for sure, Bob. I really thank you.
You're welcome, Ken. Thanks so much for having me. We'll chat again when we actually get through training camp, and then you can ask me the question about the Patriots' record for the coming season, and I'll venture a guess.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Bob.
When you're calling games for the team and you're a broadcaster for a team, you have to pick them to win every game.
Yeah, you do.
Realistic at this point, and I'm sure it'll be unrealistic as well come September. We'll do it.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.